Welcome on and on, Nyanko here, and today I'm here to talk about a smaller show that I haven't heard too many people talking about from last season called Mushikaburi Hime, or The Biblophile Princess. Okay, so the premise of this show is that Eliana is the Crown Prince Christopher's fiance, but she believes that she's a fake fiance who's just there to keep people and his, especially his mother, off Christopher's back, because she's just a bookworm. But she's worse than a bookworm. She's a biblophile, basically. Hence the title. She loves to just be sat away in a little corner of the library, reading her books, and she's just quite content to be left alone in her own little world with her own little books. Now, this might not appeal to everybody, and I do understand that, but as the story starts progressing, it starts coming to light that actually, no, Christopher isn't wanting her to be a fake fiance. He actually wants her to be his real fiance, and he struck a deal with her father and her grandfather that he had to make her realise him and see him and make him more important to her than books before the age of being able to marry, which is when she's like 18. So they get engaged when she's 14, and then the story starts when she's 18. So they've been engaged at this point for like 4 years, I believe. I'll have to double check that. I just have to double check the ages because I can't always remember. I think she's 18. Editing me will confirm or deny this, either which side. But yeah, so the story starts off with her getting a bit self-conscious about the fact that she's a fake fiance and how she, doesn't think she could be a proper fiance, and why would he want her? And then it slowly, like, as the story goes along, he actually admits to her that he wants her to be his real fiance, and there's the usual, there's drama in the background, there's court politics going on as well, so there's a lot that happens, really. And I mean, some of the times I will admit Eliana can get a little bit annoying because she's very meek, she's very mildly spoken, she's very just sit back and the only thing I'm good at is books. But as you go along, you actually start to learn that she's actually helping the country a lot more than you realise at first glance. So she'll just be sat there reading a book and something will happen with Christopher and one of his aides in the background, and then an episode or two later that particular conversation will come back into play, and it'll turn out that Eliana actually had some insight into the issue that really helps the country. So I think one of the things is about this fake vase that they find, and someone's trying to sell it as this specific, like, old fallen kingdom's antiquity, and Eliana's like, yeah, it's a really good fake, but this is wrong with it, and this is how it actually would be if it was from this time period, because she was really interested in it and she loved reading the books. So that saves them from being scammed. There's another thing when there was like a really harsh winter or something, and there was like a war that followed because of a scrape over resources, and Eliana's like, oh, this is from this book that I read, which was a history of our kingdom, and if we do this, we can avoid what caused that to happen, and she's actually really useful to the country, and her bookwormness basically is a good thing because she retains the knowledge after she's read it. And I think that's something that really spoke to me personally on a deep level, because I'm like, books are my babies, I love to read, as you've probably noticed from some of my videos. And I like how she's got no confidence at the beginning, but slowly, like, Christopher is like, hang on a second, you have built on, like, your knowledge from just reading book after book after book is useful, it contributes to the kingdom, and I need that aspect. It's really cute because, like, Christopher is so one woman, which I really like. He's like, nope, mine, nobody else. In the sense of he won't even entertain the idea of like a concubine, which is something that's like that comes into play later on in the series. But it is a period piece in that sense. It's kind of set in olden like times, so where the aristocracy and kingdoms ruled, and it's all like sword fighting, and medicine isn't as good as it is, like, say, in our time, and that's the storyline that plays into it as well. I'm not going to give all of the storylines away, because if you do want to go and watch it, I don't want to spoil everything. But I can say upsides to the show are that it's sweet, it's romantic, it's very, you know, they're actually together by, like, the first or second episode, and then you, like, watch their relationship play out instead of you spend the entire show waiting for that, you know, relationship to happen, and then, like, it ends when it happens, like, it ends when the relationship begins, which is something that really frustrates me about anime. I like those shows, don't get me wrong, where you start off with them, like, hating each other, or you start off with them dancing around each other, and it slowly progresses to them becoming a couple. But then I also do like the shows, like, I really like the shows where it's like, okay, the first episode gets all that dancing around, they're a couple now, here we go, you know, here's the rest of the story. So that, for me, with Mushikaburi Hime, really, like, drew me in. I love the dresses that, like, Eliana and the ladies wear, because I really like old fashion. So, like, I like the Tudor style kind of dresses. I just love, like, Renaissance fairs as well, and all the, like, the old flowy gorgeous dresses, and we really need to bring this fashion back. I want to dress in, like, Victorian gorgeous dresses and just feel fabulous, and, you know, walk around like an old lady from from, like, the 1800s. Please bring this fashion back. So yeah, that drew me in. Eliana's relationships with the different characters and how they, like, intersect, and how, like, you don't always get all the information in one go, and it kind of tidbits it through bits and bobs, and then you kind of also see how Christopher really does love Eliana, and how Eliana is, like, struggling to see that at points, and then she realises, oh, this is something that I mentioned ages ago, and he actually remembered. But the thing that's really funny to me is actually at the very beginning, they meet when they're children, and Christopher is going through, like, this major crisis because his mum was sent away because she got sick, and then she comes back and she seems to be almost like a different person, and he's in the library and he's taken out on these books, and Eliana just, like, rushes in and she's like, what are you doing to those books? Apologise to them right this instant. And she doesn't remember any of this time they spent together when they were children. And then slowly as she goes through the series, she does eventually remember. That's one of the things that I thought was really cute, was, like, you know, it was kind of playing a little bit with the childhood friends trope of, like, friends to lovers, or, like, friends to getting stepped over for the other main character that came in later on. So that was interesting to watch. But no, like I did say, Eliana can be a bit frustrating with her very meek, very kind of passive personality, but she does have character development, and she does stop being quite as passive as it goes through. But again, a lady of her time, you were told to just sit meekly in the background. You weren't supposed to have opinions. You weren't supposed to speak up and, you know, like, force yourself into the men's world. So if you understand the time period and how women were raised back then, it's not as frustrating. But having been raised in modern times, and you're going, oh God, come on, you know, be more confident in yourself. Stand up, fight for what you want, you know? Don't be afraid to speak up. It can be a bit frustrating, like I said. But I really like all the characters. So you've got the aides who help Christopher. So you've got, like, his bodyguard who also kind of guards Eliana. I can't remember his name. I know Alan is kind of like his secret informant, who the running joke is that Eliana never remembers him. Then there's his uncle, so the king's brother, who is Christopher's uncle. He's also next in line for the throne after Christopher, if Christopher doesn't get married and have children. But he kind of, like, puts himself into a position where, like, the court couldn't fight over succession, which I think was really nice. There was no like, family backstabbingness in it. It was, in that sense, the family was really wholesome. You know, you had Christopher, you had his mum, the queen, you have his dad, the king, who you only meet in, like, the last episode, and then you have his uncle. And there's no vying for the throne, there's no, you know, I will murder my nephew to take the throne from him kind of thing, which you see in quite a few of these kind of shows. which I found really nice. There is a bit of a squabble over Eliana at times, so like the uncle's constantly like hitting on her and being like, come with me, Eliana, you know, and oh, Christopher, I get Eliana on a level you don't, because I love books. I work in the library. And then you've got Christopher being like, oi, no, my bookworm, I love her, mine, no, don't take her from me. But it's all done in like a sweet, playful way. It's not in a kind of I will stab you in the back to get what I want kind of way, which I thought was really nice. The backstabbiness comes more from the court ladies who are trying to push Eliana out of the way so that they can be with the prince, which, true. There's also like backstabbiness from nobles as well in the background. So you've got like your different factions again in, as you know, in history, courts are kind of the worst place for any form of loyalty. So yeah, like you've got that going on in the background. You've got like Eliana and Christopher going on, and then other tidbits going everywhere. So for me, I just really liked it. The romance was sweet. The characters are pretty decent in the sense of some of them are a little bit one-dimensional, but I mean, it's a romance, you know. The main character's pretty fleshed out in the sense of she doesn't know who she is, and she's learning as she goes along, because for the longest time all she's cared about is books and being in her own little world of books, and now she's kind of stumbling around like a foal, just learning to walk, trying to become a lady of the court, trying to become the next, you know, the crown princess. You know, she's in a world that she's never been in before. You know, yes, she's been there, but never really present in it. She never really had to engage. She didn't have to, you know, entertain the ladies at like a luncheon. She didn't have to sit beside the queen and like talk to all the noble wives, you know. Whereas before, when she went to court, she'd just sit in a corner and read a book and leave everything to her brother and her dad, you know. So that for me was interesting to see, you know, in the sense of she's floundering. She knew who she was for so long, and now she's been thrown into a role where she doesn't actually know what she's doing, and she's desperately trying to do her best while realizing that doing her best is going to upset somebody. She can't do everything right that will appease everybody, and she's got to learn to, you know, toughen up and make the hard calls. And that for me was quite interesting to watch. You know, you go and see her from being this very, you know, shy little bookworm who's just sat there reading her books, enjoying her time, to being someone worthy of being the crown princess alongside the crown prince and possibly the next queen. And then again with Christopher, you know, he's best, bless him, he's doing his best so that he can just leave Eliana to her books and her own devices. But at the same time, he can't, you know, she needs to learn to step into the role. And like his mum comes into play for that as well. And I really like the queen. She's really cool. She's very like stoic and, you know, no, you must be tough and stuff. And then Eliana will do something. She's like, oh my god, I always wanted a daughter as cute as you. So yeah, I was like, yes, I love. But yeah, overall, Mushikaburi Hime, if you're a bookworm, if you're into like period romance pieces, you know, it should tick all the boxes for you. It's got good characters, it's got really fleshed out storyline. You know, it's just like a slice of life, really, in the sense of it's a slice of their life. And I'm actually hoping that there's more, or because I know it's a light novel series, so I might have to go and find myself the light novels and figure out if what else happens after that story, or if that's adapted everything or not up to now. We will have to see. But no, if you've seen Mushikaburi Hime, comment down below in the comment section and just let me know your favourite characters, your favourite part of the show. Maybe keep it slightly mildly spoiler free if people haven't seen it. Then again, I've probably spoiled quite a bit of it because I'm terrible about that. But yeah, let me know if you've seen it. If you haven't seen it and you go and watch it because of this, again, comment down below and let me know what you thought of the show. If you've read the light novels, let me know if the show differs from the light novels and how drastically, because I really like to know about that kind of stuff as well. But no, other than that, my kittens, just take care of yourselves. Remember to eat something, drink something and take your medication if you have forgotten. Remember to take wonderful care of yourselves, my dears. Much love. Ciao.